another segment of the Package Your Brilliance series. I'm Stacey Walker.
I'm Deborah Anderson.
Our guest for today, and I'm so happy that you're here, Mallika. Can you introduce yourself to the people who are watching and listening? Share who you are, what you do, and how you help people.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for inviting me to this. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Mallika Malhotra. I am a brand strategist and a brand photographer. I work with female entrepreneurs primarily, helping them stand out in their saturated markets. We work on mastering their message. We work on building their visibility so they become the face of their brand. And I help them discover their niche, really their sort of bullseye brand so that they can stand out in their industries. I'm a mom of 3 sons and I live in Falmouth, Maine. I just moved up here about a year and a half. And so I do a combination of brand strategy as well as brand photography, and they sort of fit really good together because it's all about really boosting your message and boosting the visibility of your brand so that you can connect quicker with your audience and captivate those clients and, make money and build your business. So excited to be here to share more about that.
Thank you. And I'm so excited that you're here today. And I just love your introduction and how you help people like with combining the photography and the branding, because they go hand in hand. I mean, branding is not just the logo, right? I learned that quickly when I started my business. Like there is an actual feel, there's an actual energy around that, and it's very unique. So I think like what you do is absolutely fascinating and much needed. So thank you for being here, because this is perfect for the people who really don't have the experience or the expertise in this area. So that's why you're here today. How your zone of genius is going to fit into this conversation is going to be great. So where would you like to start this topic?
So let's talk about really what branding is. And I think you touched on that. Branding is not your logo. It's not your fonts or your palette of colors. It's not even your website or your Instagram feed. Those are sort of expressions of the brand. And I think that's where some people sort of get in trouble because they rely on that to tell the story of their brand. Where branding is more about the message, right? What the impression that your business is making in your audience's mind, what they remember. So when you look at Target or Coke or Lululemon, there's a certain story that that brand is telling you that you carry with you. There's a feeling. So that's really what branding is. It's the impression. It's the feeling that that business is making that's helping you decide to work with them over somebody else. And sometimes as entrepreneurs or people who have side hustles, it's very hard to sort of crack that code of what branding is because it can feel overwhelming. So I would love to share some questions that like a framework that I use for my own brand, for my clients, that might be able to help people sort of dumb it down a little bit so that it's easy to then apply your own business to it. So the first question is really, who do you serve, right? When we're talking about niching down and when we're talking about branding, we want to be specific. We don't want to service everyone because that's when you sort of create that more generic, lukewarm brand where you're saying yes to everyone so nobody remembers who you are and what your reputation should really be built on. So getting clear on who do I best serve? What are my skill sets that I can actually create the best impact and transformation for that audience? So think about that. You're not meant for everyone. You're really meant for a specific audience. The next thing is, what do you stand for? Really your values and the mission behind your brand. These are things that are going to inspire your audience and really get them to having a relationship with your brand. You can think about Warby Parker or Third Love, those brands. There's a story, a mission, a purpose that we latch onto that makes us want to buy from them. It's not always just the product or service. And then the next thing is from, what do you stand for? Who do you serve? What's the problem that you can solve best? Again, knowing your expertise, knowing that zone of genius and getting very clear instead of doing 1,000 things, right? That nobody knows what your brand is meant for or stands for. You are zoned into having your reputation built on a particular skill set that you can do better than other people, that people are going to pay you for. And then the last thing really is, how are you different? look at your process, look at your packages, look at your onboarding, all of the things. Do a brain dump of like when you get clients with you to when you actually have the deliverable, and highlight the areas that you might be different than other people. And those are things that you can really lean into so that you can differentiate, that you can become a distinctive standout brand. So I think that's kind of the first step, is to answer those 4 questions. So just as a recap, who do you serve best? How are you different? What problem can you solve? And what do you stand for? So I hope that helps your audience really get a hold of like what they can start thinking about to build the foundation of their brands.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing those 4. I mean, that's very specific. And I think getting clear on those things is going to make it so much easier for the people that are packaging up their ideas and turning them to a product or service. So it's kind of like they get to reverse engineer.
Yes, absolutely. And then once you have that clarity, which is so critical to your brand and business success, then there are 2 other elements that I think you, as a brand who wants to stand out and get noticed, need to consider. And the other is taking consistent action, right? You need to stay true to your message and not sort of falter and chase the shiny objects and try all the new things, but really pick your lane and stick with it. Commit to it, at least for 3 months, 6 months. I know as new businesses, new entrepreneurs, we're still in that validation phase, right? We need to try different things. But if you can try 1 or 2 things instead of 10 things, I think you'll have more success and be able to really fast track your business. Because it's when we try to do all the different things is when we get into trouble. Also, stay true to your message, right? Sometimes I find that there's a schizophrenia that happens, right? We have like multiple personalities, and one day we're saying this, 10 days later we're saying this. A confused mind never buys. And so you are doing a disservice to your business if you're shouting out different messages, because your audience is not going to understand who you are. So stay true to your message, stay true to, your expertise, and just be authentic, be who you are. So after you get the clarity, you have the consistency, then usually what happens is you start to build your confidence. And so I always love to encourage, my students, my clients, to really then amp up their confidence. And that's where the visibility takes part. That's where becoming the face of your brand and stepping into that and being seen is very critical to your success. Because people do business with people, right? We're not doing business with logos. We want to build a relationship. It's not a one and done often. It's not just a service. This is a relationship we're building with brands. And the more visible you are, the more you tell your story, the more you connect and you stay visible and you pull the curtain, right? And become transparent and share the good, the bad, the ugly, the process, the more your audience will be inspired and the more that they'll feel invested in you. And that sticky type of experience is really going to help you stand out in your niche.
Wow. Wow. You just described some artist friends of mine. And Stacey, I think I mentioned one because I was thinking about inviting her as a speaker, but I love art, but the 2 people I connect with the most, it's not just their art, it's the people.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I bought face masks from one of them. I just love that they had art on the face mask. It's like, oh no, now I need another set of 5 face masks. Do I really need more face masks? No, probably not. But it's her. It's, I'm connected with the artist and I wanted more.
Yeah, her story and her mission is probably what is attracting you. And if you like her, you know her, you trust her, right? And that know, like, and trust factor is key to then getting, brand clients, brand ambassadors, brand fans, and building your business.
Yes, and you also brought up a great point about like the confidence actually comes later. It comes from doing the things and taking the action and being consistent and really listening to the feedback, because like everything that we do, we're definitely going to get feedback. I love it that you're sharing that the confidence does come later, which I think a lot of us think, oh, well, the confidence is going to come before we do all of these things. And it's like, no, it actually comes from the doing and,
Yes.
and the tweaking and the listening. So thank you for dropping that in there. Like that immediately stood out to me amongst all the other nuggets of wisdom that you shared.
She had
Yeah.
so many. They're like, I'm wishing that I took notes. Although I'm doing editing, so I'll be writing it down while I'm listening to it again.
And you
But
can watch the
wow.
replay.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good point, Stacey, you make. Like, strong brands aren't made overnight, right? We see these brands, we're like, oh my God, how did they get here? You know what? They got there through experimentation, through failure, through trying things. Like, there's no, bulletproof way to get there. It's taking chances, taking risks, self-discovery, research. So branding is something that's ongoing. That's something I preach all the time. It's organic, it's living, it's breathing. You have to test things. You're going to pivot. A lot of us saw that during the COVID and the pandemic. We had to shift our ways because of what was working 2 years ago is no longer working. And that's the beauty of branding. It can change with us. If it stems in our values and our mission, it will be okay. We'll be able to still attract the right people. But we have to make sure that, we are always trying, and it's a process. So we shouldn't always be so hard on ourselves that it's not just done and perfect. It's never going to be done and perfect.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you shared this because when we are business owners, like we are testing all the time, like you said. And I love that you mentioned that like the branding is going to evolve, just as we have evolved too. Like as entrepreneurs, we're growing, we're learning what works, what doesn't work, what we like, what we don't like, and all of this can change. And then we have our businesses that are separate entities. I always say they're like a living, breathing thing of its own that grows, that has its good days, its bad days, and things that it really loves and not so much. So not being hard on yourself as you continue to grow your business and learn and pivot, it's a part of the territory. And I know if I had you to share that with me in the beginning of my journey, I would have been gentler on myself, because I was definitely harder on myself during the early years because I thought that there was something wrong. Like, why wasn't this working? But you brought up a great point about like, it takes time. Like, we can't do something for a month and then expect, just money to be falling out of the sky. It's like, it can take some time. And we don't give ourselves enough time to really think about like, how long this is actually going to take for it to work.
It's the long game. We need to be in it for the long game.
Yeah.
And yes, we will experiment, especially in the beginning, and we're going to learn some things. But at some point, I think in your business, probably around the 2-year mark, you figure out things that are working. And so that's the opportunity to start honing in, right? And to really embracing that expertise and committing to that and using that as the core of your brand. And sometimes that's hard if you have, shiny object syndrome, which I know I do, but I always remind myself to go back to the values, go back to my mission, my expertise, my zone of genius, and really try to stick there. Keep my eyes on my paper, not look around, because really strong brands that are in the long game are those that commit to the one thing, right? They're not doing 10,000 things. That's what your reputation is built on, right? You start with the one thing, and then over time, you can broaden and add some other things in there. But really, if you want to be known as the go-to brand, you do have to stick to sort of one area of expertise. I know not everybody agrees with that, but I do. That's part of the niching down, I think. I mean, just think about it. If you were to simplify, get specific, specialize, then your messaging is one message, right? You have maybe 1 or 2 offers that are in that message because you're serving one clientele, and then you're getting known for that. And so you've gone from like this huge market to maybe a smaller market. And guess what? We can all become queens of that smaller market. So it's definitely a smart strategy. I know there's resistance because you're like, but I don't know if I'll get the people there. I want to serve everyone because I'm worried about my income. But once you get over that hump, after you've been in business for 1 or 2 years and you know what you're good at, right? And you know what people are buying from you, and you know what impact and results you can deliver, then that's the time to really do the exercise to figure out, okay, now that I can see all my clients that I've worked with in the past, let me kind of cull through to see who paid me, where did I get the most results and impact, and what did I love to do? And maybe I can carve out and just focus on that.
Okay, I admit I love Diet Coke. I'm a Diet Coke-aholic. But I was thinking, Mallika, when you were talking about the brand, and I was thinking about Coca-Cola, and I mean, they have circled back. I don't know all of the different flavors that Coca-Cola has, but I know they've kind of come back to that Coca-Cola classic, and they still have Diet Coke, thank God. But all the other flavors, you know, I guess, do you call it experimentation? They're trying different flavors. But they seem to have come back to that simple approach where it's like, let's make sure that we have the Coca-Cola flavor, the original classic Coke flavor, and the Diet Coke. And I actually know a lot of other Diet Coke-aholics. So really good move, Coca-Cola. Thank you.
Yeah, I got stick to your core, right? Your flagship, what you're known for. Luckily, Coke has like enough money for their advertising budget that they can do these things. But as solopreneurs, as people that might be working a 9 to 5 with a side hustle, we don't have the big budgets. And so we need to be smarter and strategic, and make those choices in our business that will fast track us, right? To build a reputation, to be the go-to. Sometimes it means becoming specific. Really, really specific, so that if maybe I'm not your client, but someone comes to me and says, you know, I'm looking for a lawyer for female entrepreneurs that are in the healthcare industry. If that's how you position yourself, I'm going to know exactly who that is versus I'm just a lawyer for business, right? So that's where, you know, defining that niche can become really helpful and get you clients faster.
You broke this down like with grace, and I'm so happy that you are here to help them, you know, with this, because you know this is a big deal. And of course I know the conversation could go a lot deeper, and I know you're just scratching the surface, which is okay, because guess what, those of you watching and listening, you have an opportunity to connect with Mallika. So where can they connect with you outside of the series?
Yes. So I love Instagram. I'm a visual girl, so would love to connect with you there. My handle is at Miki Photoco, MIKIFOTOCO. But also my website has all of, you know, the things that I offer, all my programs. But I am often on Instagram, so that's a great way to connect with me. So yeah. I also have a free Facebook group called Brand Confidential.
Yeah.
And it's a very active, engaged group. I invite you to find me on Facebook. It's called Brand Confidential. You'll see my name. I'm always posting, you know, fun Mad Lib type of fill in the blank prompts to help you dig into your brand story, because I know it's hard. So definitely come find me there as well. I'd love to help you.
And then also you have a free resource that's very generous. Can you share more about that?
Yes, I would love to. So it's called the Brand Visibility Booster. So as we talked about, visibility is a key component on really trying to stand out in your industry, but it can be hard. You know, how do I show up and be seen? And so I've put together a guide that will help you understand the 6 images that I think every entrepreneur needs in their collection of images. And in order to really tell the story and bring your brand to life. So you'll see my framework that I use for my clients, as well as a lookbook, real women, my real clients, and what their images look like to tell the story of their brands. So would love to share that with your audience. It's called the Brand Visibility Booster.
Oh, love it. So before we close out, final words of wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. So I totally understand that it can feel that branding is daunting, that it can feel like you're in the saturated market and you look like a clone of everyone else, or you feel invisible. That is the pain points that my clients feel. But if you take the time out and you really set aside some time to do some self-discovery, because I do feel like it begins with yourself, really assessing your passions, your skills, the past experience that you might have that you can leverage to your new ventures, and really dig deep and ask yourself those 4 questions that we talked about earlier, you're going to have some clarity that's really going to boost your confidence to move forward with your story and reaching out to clients. I think when we just sort of throw our businesses out there and try to look for clients and we're sort of scrappy all over the place, it can feel yucky. But when we sit back and take the time, really assess our skills, what we feel good about, what we stand for, who we know we should serve, how we're different, that's going to boost your confidence to really build that foundation for branding. This is the work that I do all the time. I have it with my membership. I have it with my one-on-one clients. So it is not always easy, but if you keep at it, you will get there. You'll be able to master your message. So don't give up on yourself. It's all within you. It's just a matter of getting it out there, connecting the dots, and articulately sharing it with your audience.
Love it. Oh, there you have it. Absolutely beautiful. That is it for today's segment. All right, we are out of here. Thank you.